I still remember the sound of the suitcase zipper closing. It was loud in the quiet living room, like the final line of a story I didn't agree to end. My mother stood near the Christmas tree, arms folded, watching me pack as if she were supervising a stranger. The tree lights reflected in her eyes, cold and distant. My father leaned against the doorway, holding a glass of whiskey like this was just another evening. "Make sure you take only what fits," my father said. "You won't need much where you're going." Where I was going. Not where I chose to go. Where they decided to send me. It was Christmas Eve. The night families were supposed to sit together, laugh, exchange gifts, and pretend the world was perfect. Instead, my parents were exiling me, and all I had was one suitcase, but the worst part? They smiled while doing it. The night everything broke. "You'll thank us someday," my mother said while adjusting an ornament on the tree. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind that comes when your heart is cracking open. "Thank you?" I asked. "For throwing me out of the country?" "You're not being thrown out," my father replied calmly. "You're being given an opportunity." An opportunity with one suitcase? My father's eyes hardened. "You've embarrassed this family enough." There it was. The real reason. Not opportunity. Reputation. My parents were wealthy. Not the flashy kind of wealthy, but the kind that owned companies, property, and influence. And in their world, image mattered more than blood. My crime? I didn't want to take over the family business. I wanted to build something of my own. To them, that was betrayal. "You can't just erase me," I said quietly. My mother finally turned toward me. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly. "That's exactly what we're doing." The goodbye that wasn't at midnight, my father drove me to the airport. No music in the car. No conversation. Snow fell quietly outside, covering the streets in white like the world was pretending everything was peaceful. When we reached the terminal, he pulled over and handed me my passport. "Your ticket is one way," he said. I stared at him. "One way? You'll figure things out." He then did something that surprised me. He smiled. "You always said you wanted independence." Then he drove away. Just like that, no hug. No goodbye, nothing. I stood outside the airport holding my one suitcase, watching the car disappear into the night. That was the moment I understood something. I didn't have parents anymore, I had obstacles, and obstacles can be overcome. The first years abroad, the country they sent me to was cold, unfamiliar, and brutally honest. No family connections. No safety net. No money beyond what little I secretly saved. I slept in a tiny apartment the size of a closet. I worked 3 jobs: dishwasher, delivery driver, night shift warehouse worker. Every night I came home exhausted, but I refused to quit. Because every time I thought about giving up, I remembered Christmas Eve and the suitcase. Slowly, things changed. I met people who believed in me. I learned skills. I started a small tech repair business out of my apartment, then a bigger one, then another. Within 10 years, the kid my parents abandoned had built something they never expected. A company, then another company. The suitcase they sent me with, I kept it. It sat in my office as a reminder. Not of pain, but of fuel. The letter that changed everything 15 years after that Christmas Eve, I received a letter. Not an email. A physical letter. I almost threw it away until I noticed the name. My grandfather was the only person in my family who ever believed in me. But he passed away years earlier. Or so I thought. Inside the envelope was a document. A will. My hands started shaking as I read it. My grandfather had left me something. Not money, not a trust fund. Something far bigger. Control of his entire estate. Including the majority shares in the very company my parents spent their lives protecting. I leaned back in my chair and laughed. Not because it was funny. Because the universe had an incredible sense of irony. The phone call 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. "Hello?" A familiar voice spoke. My mother. "We need to talk." "No hello, no how are you, just business." I assume you received the documents, she said. I did. There was a pause. You know that inheritance belongs to the family. I smiled. That's interesting, I said. Because the will says it belongs to me. Her voice sharpened. You don't understand what you're doing. Oh, I understand perfectly. Another pause. Then my father's voice joined the call. We're flying to see you. The meeting happened 2 weeks later. They entered my office like they owned the place. Expensive clothes. Confident posture. The same cold expressions I remembered. But this time something was different. They were nervous. Because for the first time, they needed something from me. My mother looked around my office. This is impressive. I nodded. Hard work. My father sat down across from me. We should discuss transferring the shares. Why? Because the company belongs to the family. I leaned forward slightly. Which family? Silence. My mother sighed. We know things ended badly before. Ended badly? I repeated. You shipped me overseas on Christmas Eve. She waved her hand dismissively. That was a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. A misunderstanding? Yes, she said. And now we want to fix things. The offer my father slid a folder across the table. We're prepared to buy back the inheritance. I opened it. The number was massive. Hundreds of millions. Enough to make most people instantly agree. But I didn't even blink. I closed the folder. No, my father frowned. You're being emotional. No, I said calmly. I'm being strategic. My mother leaned forward. What do you want then? I thought about the suitcase, the airport, the snow, the silence. Then I smiled. I want the truth. The truth. Tell me something, I said. Why did you really send me away? My parents exchanged a look. Then my father spoke. Because you were a risk. A risk? You refused to follow orders. You wanted independence. That kind of thinking destroys families like ours. My mother added coldly. We thought you'd fail. There it was. The truth. They didn't exile me to help me. They exiled me to erase me. Thank you, I said, for being honest. My father frowned. What does that mean? I stood up and walked toward the window. You see, I said quietly, when you sent me away, you thought you were protecting your legacy. I turned back toward them. But you forgot something. What? My grandfather. I placed another document on the table. This inheritance comes with voting control. My father's face changed. What are you saying? I'm saying I now control the company. Silence filled the room. And I've made a decision. My mother's voice trembled slightly. What decision? I smiled. The board meets tomorrow. And I'm removing both of you. The revenge my father stood up. You wouldn't dare. I would. My mother's voice turned desperate. This company is our life. I nodded. Yes. Then I said the words they never expected to hear. And you shipped me overseas with one suitcase. They stared at me. For the first time in my life, they looked small, powerless. My father tried one last time. You're destroying your own family. I shook my head. No, you did that 15 years ago. The final moment the next day, the board voted, unanimously. My parents were removed from leadership. They kept their money. But the company, the legacy they protected by abandoning me, it was now mine. A week later, I received another letter. From my mother, only one sentence, we made a mistake. I placed the letter inside the old suitcase. The same suitcase they sent me away with. Then I closed the zipper slowly. Just like that night long ago. Only this time, the sound didn't feel like an ending. It felt like justice. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't anger. It's success. In the quiet moment when the people who abandoned you realized something too late, they didn't send away their weakest child. They sent away the one who would eventually own everything.